everyone. I'm Andrea Klim from Turn to the Stars. I hope you're having a great Easter today. It's been a really super intense energy with the moon in Scorpio. And it's very related to this full moon that we had yesterday, which was at 2:21 p.m. Eastern Daytime here in Florida because I'm on the East Coast, so you might need to adjust that a little bit for wherever your time zone is. And we did experience the peak of that full moon at 28 degrees of Libra yesterday. And there's so much to say about this full moon because the full moon is very influential. Puts light, it brings things to completion. That's what full moons always do. And this one was the sun in Aries opposite the full moon in Libra, and it really looked like a pink or a really intense color last night. And so there's some other things that are happening with this chart that are just not about the full moon. It's about the sun and about the moon squaring Pluto, and it's going to be very influential over the next couple of days. Libra, the moon in Libra, first of all, I want to talk about this cardinal T-square that's going on. And it's going to be lasting with the sun until maybe into Tuesday, into Wednesday. And when you have squares like this is a period of growth. Squares mean that there's going to be some challenges, and there's probably going to be some really awesome things in hindsight that you learn, but it's really important to be patient, think things through. The sun in Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the planet of action, movement, intensity. It's Aries, it rules Aries. And so the sun is our spirit, our drive, is wanting to act and move forward and be strong and courageous. That's the inspiration of the sun in Aries. But the moon in Libra says, what about everyone else? Libra is the sign of relationships. Libra is ruled by Venus, where the sun in Aries has a strong Mars influence. So I'm going to talk about the continuing square between the sun and Pluto in today's show because it's extremely influential at the beginning of this week. And I know when I go out, I'm feeling it all around me. You know, when you have a strong Martian influence and it's in a squaring influence such as it is to Pluto, the planet of powerful change, transmutation. It can be it can bring up secrets, hidden things, because Pluto is that planet that is physically frozen on the surface. So once the melting happens of that frozen surface, you get this death and ending of whatever your experiences are happening, and there's this rebirth that can happen. But first, with this cardinal T-square showing up in the heavens, up in the sky, it tells us that there is some real stress associated with this. There's some real Martian type energy, but there's also this inspiration by this cardinal T-square. Cardinal means action. And so Libra would be action with a focus on relationships. With Aries, it's an action taken on behalf of yourself. And Pluto in Capricorn is about money, structure, big businesses, control, and the breakdown of the structures around us. And so there's a lot of tension showing up for the next couple of days. So if you're aware of it, it might help you to do some self-talk or some meditation to find peace with whatever's coming up in your life. We are certainly feeling this very powerfully. And I always said that squares are like sleeper cells. we experience pain to do with something, or we want to fix something, especially in cardinal signs. But this configuration is really going to test us in how we relate, how we respond. And the sun is the spirit also. The moon is the emotions. Full moons are very conflictive or uh, oppositional because they are when the sun and the moon is completely opposite. So again, this is a very intense aspect that's formed. And so there could be things in your life, depending on where this full moon falls in your chart, that bring your attention to a particular area, depending on your birth chart and where that full moon is falling, which is Libra at 26 degrees. So I actually looked up the Sabian symbol for Libra at this degrees, and a Sabian symbol paints a picture of with more detail about this particular degree. So the full moon was at 26 of Libra in some minutes, so it goes on to 24. And so I want to read you the Sabian symbol connected to this because it's so, they always are right in line with the energy influence. So Libra at 27. To picture this full moon paints is an airplane sailing high into the bright, clear sky. So there's action involved. This symbol shows the ability to transcend strife and rise above issues. You can feel above situations and are being carried away and beyond the mundane towards something completely new. You can sail above issues and avoid more every day. Down to earth problems. So having a calm, objective, and somewhat detached way of observing life reveals a lot to you. So if you can stand back, even though you're having a lot of peaked emotions. Now we are on the waxing side of this, the waning side, meaning the moon's light is decreasing till we get to the new moon, which is a solar eclipse at the end of April. So we're going to be dealing with the topics at hand until this new moon comes. And so you can actually sail away with issues and avoid everyday down to earth problems if you can step back and be objective and somewhat detached. In a somewhat detached way of observing life reveals a lot to you. Don't, however, get so far above things that you feel removed entirely from what's really going on in reality. This won't help when you need to employ practical solutions or have a need to really deal with life and its ramifications. Transcending difficulties, optimism that knows no bounds, having a bird's eye view. These are some of the really important words associated with this Sabian symbol. Airplanes, birds, flight, roller coaster rides, the need for navigation, objectivity, difficulty seeing the details of what's going on, escape from reality, running out of fuel, egoism, playing with gravity, disconnection from the real world. So that describes some really intense energy connected with this full moon and the influences of it. And so I'm going to be taking a look at that a little bit deeper into that square between the sun and Pluto, which is actually perfecting on Monday, but it's going to be heating up over this week. This weekend has been like almost like there's this fire underneath us. And so truly to step back and observe before replying or taking action is really, really important. Squares tell us, slow down, take your time. This is not a time to act impulsively, even though it feels like you want to be assertive and you want to get things out and reveal things. but it's probably not in anybody's best interest. So um, some of the major themes with this combination of the Sun and Pluto is what I'm going to be talking about on today's show. And I'm also going to be taking a look at what's happening in the sky over the next few days. And then after that, I'm going to offer some wisdom on this transit and give some advice about how to actually deal with this transit. So that's my plan for today. And if you're new to my channel, please click on the like button. And um, and if you want to subscribe so that you receive free notifications when I put out a new recording each week, I would love to have you come aboard. This is a free recording that I do every week, and it's something I do to keep everybody informed. So thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. So I also want to talk a little bit right now about my new book that I've been writing since 2005. It's called The Language of Astrology Class 1. It's narrated, so you get the PDF and you get the narrated version with me teaching the class. It's a recording, and I've priced it because at $17.99, it's 50 pages, the first class. So there's going to be 8 classes in all that are going to be narrated, and you'll get the PDF. And as I said, this has been a project or a labor of love for me because I'm so passionate about astrology over the course of since 2005. So this has been a long time coming, and I'm finally, that Aries energy of this month is kind of putting a fire under me to get it launched. So I launched it yesterday, and you can find it on my website, or I'm going to put a link in the under the YouTube recording here that gives you the opportunity to examine and purchase if you want. It's a step-by-step version or textbook. It's kind of like a college textbook because the book in itself is about this thick and like a textbook. So it really is step by step by step. So it's 8 classes where you learn how to interpret an astrology birth chart. So I hope you'll take a look at that. If you're new to astrology or you're really intensely studying astrology, this is something I think that you're going to love. And so you can also use astrology to help other people. If you're able to interpret it, you can help lots of people. I got into it because I wanted the help for myself because everything that I learned was so accurate, and I thought, this is amazing. I want to know more. So I began studying and ended up after 4 years becoming my career. So I hope you'll take a look at it, and if you purchase it, I'll get that out to you ASAP. So as I said, astrology is a tool you can use to help anyone, and it's for anybody who wants to either, whether it's just a hobby or it is something that you're wanting to do as a career eventually or become a professional astrologer. You're going to find this a great aid, a great tool. So thanks for being here today. So astrology does help us to understand the ups and downs of life and the different seasons of life. And I have referred to an astrology birth chart as a cosmic GPS. A GPS is, I don't think anybody can live without one of those these days because we don't typically use maps anymore. So we all go to our phones, to our GPS, and it guides us. So astrology is a lot like that. And I think that you're really going to love this book. And like I said, this one's about basically the planets, retrogrades, and keywords, and it's pretty involved step by step by step. So you can do it at your leisure with a narrated version. So I hope that you're going to be able to take that class. Now back to the Sun square to Pluto, which is occurring until it occurred on the full moon, and it's still very present with us right now. So the Sun in the sign of Aries right now is going to be closing in on that exact square by Monday to Pluto in Capricorn. After the Sun is going to enter Taurus, and once it changes signs and its configuration with Pluto will change, because Taurus is an earth sign, the sign that is stable, slow, methodical. Well, it's not been too stable with Uranus so close to it, but it is bringing great changes in our lives, and it's heightening our intuition. It's changing the earth, it's changing our money system. This is the influence. So anyway, the Sun is eventually going to trine Pluto, because they're two earth signs and they love to be together. So that means that whatever we learned this month, next month is the time that we put it, it's a succeeding type energy, meaning that we look at this as what are the things we can use this to achieve success. And it's a very loving type of energy when the Sun moves into Taurus. So I'll talk more about that on my next shows, but currently I want to talk a little bit more about the Sun at this last critical degrees of Aries and the energy, because it's really intense. So we have this very intense culminating Sun in its exaltation. So as I said earlier, Mars rules Aries, and Aries is a fire sign, and it is squaring Pluto and Capricorn. So the Mars energy of Aries is potentially an explosive combination, because you got fire and earth. If fire hits earth, we have a real challenge to get past that block in the road, and it can be painful because it's hot. Earth is dry. So the Sun is at about 28 degrees of Aries, and it's making a square to Pluto, as I talked about earlier, at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So we're going to feel the effects of this energy also, because whenever a planet luminary is in the last degrees of a sign, and especially squaring to Pluto, it's what we call a critical degrees. This means that things at this time can be very critical of how we react. So I wanted to point that out to you too. So as the Sun changes its relationship with Pluto, we're going to see the earth signs in a different way than a fire sign would. So that's very important. So we have from April 15th all the way through April 20th where the Sun is engaging. And that's why it's important to look at this today, because we are going to be dealing with this over the next weekend. The square started heating up on Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this energy is quite intense. And it's going to be very powerful Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. So today I'm going to talk about some Sun-Pluto themes. So today's theme is really about tolerance. We're going to explore the word, and I think people have an interesting intolerance for the word tolerance. So I'm going to bring that up today as well. It's like when I tell my brother to be patient, and he's got Jupiter in Aries, and he goes, I don't like that word. So Aries is typically impatient, wants to go, wants to move. But this T-square to Pluto, opposite the Sun, is telling us to really take our time, really go slow, really take your time. If there's blocks on the road, stop, figure out what's the best action, and hold on until that fire burns out a little bit. because the sun in Aries is actually an incredibly ambitious placement. We know that Mars is also exalted in the sign of Capricorn. It loves being in that place. We got somebody who's very active in business and organization and loves to teach. They tend to be more active in those areas. So by ambition, I mean that there's a combination of with a sense of action paired with a sense of purposefulness, goal orientation, determination, hard work, courage, perseverance, and a tendency to stay focused on and moving toward your goals until they're achieved. Aries and Capricorn are both very good at these kinds of things. Aries is a little bit more restless because of the fire energy and because of the need to take action. And it's more prone to starting things that don't get finished because Aries wants to go fast, just like fire does when it really starts to get fed. So both Capricorn and Aries are signs that like that victory. Both are Mars ruled signs, although the exaltation is in Capricorn, but they love victory. They love to be on the top. Capricorn loves to climb the ladder. Aries likes to be the leader. They're not a follower, they're a leader. All the fire signs in the zodiac, Aries, Sagittarius, and Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. They're the executives of the zodiac. They like to be in the front, they like to be leading. So you can see the amplification. I imagine these last couple of days you felt these themes of ambition and power. You know, Pluto in Capricorn is a breakdown. All the words that describe Pluto's energy, there's like a basic, in my book I explain that, a basic, a positive, and a negative. There's a positive and negative to every single sign. But the positive and negatives to Pluto are that it changes what's there. It breaks it down. So we're seeing that by these powerful forces in our government, which is Capricorn, these powerful forces in big business. We're seeing ego, we're seeing a lot of death. And I was hearing stories about death today in church. Yesterday, during a reading I was doing, was asked by one of my clients to do a clearing of this incredible home, which is in Winter Lake, Florida. It's more like a mansion than a home. And there's a lot of beautiful things attached to it, but there's also a lot of other things because energy attaches to material. And the only way to clear negative energy is to put it in God's hands, so to speak. Some people call God, some people call it creator. But the only way to change that energy is through love and handing it over to a higher power. So that is really some intense work that I've got on my plate coming up. And the pastor in church today was telling a story about near-death experience that he had heard a story of. And it was a man who was dying in the hospital, and this doctor was trying to save him. And the more he worked on his heart, he was trying to get a pacemaker in there, and this man kept dying, and he'd come back and say, "It's hell, it's hell, it's hell. I don't want to go there. Please stop, please bring me back, please bring me back." So there must be some areas of life that he really felt like he was in hell. So when he asked the doctor, "Please pray for me, please pray for me, please pray for me." And the doctor said he'd never experienced anything like this in any shape or form. So he prayed for him, and he asked Jesus to come and help this man. And the man came back to life and went on to live for quite some time. And it was a life-changing relationship from that time on. So life and death, the ghosts that we have, the hell that we go through here on earth can follow us and stay with us unless we hand it over, unless we stop trying to control everything and let go and let God. That's one of the things the symbol of Pluto means: let go, let God. So, um, this is a very powerful transit as far as the themes of power and ambition tend to grow. And the stories, the emotional stories, and the things that get unveiled during this transit are going to be intense. They have been and are going to continue to be throughout the first part of this week. And some of the things that happen with power and ambition is they tend to wax and grow like the moon. You know, when we have a full moon, the light from the sun is reflected on the moon, and we can see light, we can see the craters in the moon. They get really big and powerful, and then powerful things happen. So powerful is such a broad word as well. So sometimes we overeat, we tend to overuse. But when I think of the sun, the light, the well-being, the spirit, it's our health, our well-being, our vitality. And I think of powerful events that are forceful and that have been behind these experience the sense of purposefulness and ambition. So these are just those, that is just those themes alone getting really amplified over the very next few days. And this can be something that helps us. So I think there's things that are meant to die during this time. It's painful. Death is a painful process, like birth is a painful process, but it's also very joyous. And on the other end of it, there's this beautiful rebirth that happens. So it's easy for me to talk about this, but what are some of the tools you can use to work through this at this time? So, oppositions can really raise our awareness. The sun and moon being opposite raises our awareness. Sorry, I keep scratching my nose. I have allergies. But as I said, they raise our awareness. It can feel like a tug of war, but it also can bring people closer together because the square to Pluto says there's going to be a part of this that you're just going to have to let go of and be loving rather than like that full moon in Libra is a beautiful, loving place for the moon to be. So if you were going to make some changes, you need the fuel of the Aries Martian energy in order to be motivated to make those changes. But on the other hand, there's something a little bit too radical or egotistical, and it can be easy to get sucked in by this one. I could feel it this morning in church. I just felt this energy around me of anger and uh, intensity. But then the stories that Pastor Marty delivered were heartwarming. You could tell that the stories he was telling was coming from his heart. I just want to tell you a little story about something that happened to me years ago. I was asleep and I was dreaming, and there was something I was really frustrated about in my life. And in my dream, I saw myself walking to the very edge of a cliff, standing there and stomping my feet on the rock, overlooking this valley. It looked like a desert. And all of a sudden, this big sun came up right in front of me. There was so much love in that sun. That, I believed, was Creator. That was God. That was unbelievable and beautiful. And suddenly I felt like I didn't feel frustrated anymore. I didn't feel uh, blocked anymore. I just felt pure warmth and love. So it was exactly what I needed to see at that time. And it really helped me a lot because the spirit and the love that came out of that experience was incredible. So one of the things about this Sun Square Pluto, it has a mind to do great and noble things. But not always is greatness exactly the ambition of Mars as much as it is the ambition of the Sun. But when you pair the Sun and exalted Mars in the sign of Aries, you get the sense of heroic ambition. So there are probably during on this full moon, so, because there is a yod, finger of God, showing up in this chart as well. And that means that there are conflicts that we're going to have to make some adjustments with. Even though this is not an individual prediction, this is something that's affecting us all here on Earth. So we all feel it. When you're out in public, you feel it. In your relationships, you feel it. In anything that involves action, motivation. And one of the things that can come up with Mars energy is anger. So, but it also can be that we lead from a very love filled place. So, everyone, I just want to let you know that my book is available. It's on my website under astrology classes, and you can see it right there. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Andrea at Turn to the Stars. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and happy Easter. Take good care, and I'll see you again in a couple days to do the next recording, the astrological news, the astrological insight. So thanks again for tuning in. Take good care, and remember, turn to the stars and you'll find your answers there. Thanks for tuning in.